Hi. Welcome to the story of my life. Sorry, I messed up. Okay, I'll start over.
Okay, so me and Tav are going to tell our story from when we met and started dating up till when we got married.
Welcome to the story of our lives. It's a good one.
So the way that me and Tavin even know each other is because I served my mission in New Zealand with a girl, now my really good friend, named Katie Gurney. She was like, yeah, I actually have this friend that I want to set you up with. And I was like, oh, okay, like that could be fun. She like showed me a picture. It was like this like Thai boy, and I was like, okay, like seems nice, whatever. And so she's like, let's go on a double date so that it's not like weird or anything. And she's like, you can come meet him first because we do this volleyball night at Memorial Park every Tuesday, and so you can come meet him at volleyball night and then we'll go on a double date.
So gonna take you back to a date that will forever go down in the history of the world as an important one. Not very memorable one for Maddy, but memorable for me.
He has like stronger memories of it.
So this story all begins with a very special Tuesday night volleyball night, October 13th, 2020. I was out looking for a hot mama, and so I go to play volleyball, and there's a hot mama there, which is kind of crazy because normally there's like all the same people, you know. I was like, dang, she's pretty cute.
And so I met Hollis, the guy that I was like Katie wanted to set me up with and go on a double date with at Memorial Park. But I also met Tavin that night.
And she's just all, you know, chitty chatty girl. She's not playing sports, which I was like, yellow flag. Like, she may be more of a chit chatter than a sporty girl. But I go on over there, and, you know, I take a break from winning all the volleyball games and go over there to chat with her. And it turns out she's from Alaska. And I was like, oh, bro, this is perfect. So I was like, yo, like, I'm from Alaska too. She like looks at me and she's like, oh, cool. Just keeps on talking. Doesn't even acknowledge my existence on this planet.
But he was like, hi, like I overheard you a second ago, like you're from Alaska, like that's super cool. He's like, I lived in Alaska too for a couple years, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I honestly, like, I don't really remember what happened after I like acknowledged that he lived in Alaska. He says like, I just like blew him off and started talking to someone else. I think I was in the middle of another conversation though, and he said that, and so I responded to him and then like continued on in the other conversation.
Pretty messed up, I thought. But yeah, that's pretty much our interaction on the first time that we met. I remember Maddy was wearing some leggings and her go-to jazz shirt. She had super blonde hair at the time, which she doesn't have anymore. I never thought I'd fall for a blonde, but maybe you'll find out whether or not I do later in this story. So, plot twist. I thought this super cute mystery girl had just come to volleyball to hang out with us. Psych, she was there to meet another guy. You know, sometimes things just don't go your way. So we go to this guy's birthday party, and of course Maddy's there, you know. And so I used to always tease Maddy because she's from Anchorage, Alaska. She went to Diamond High School, which is like kind of the rich part of town.
It was kind of at the end, I was about to leave, and I see Tav. We're like kind of friends at this point. We've like seen each other here and there. And he comes over and he like wants to play one-on-one basketball. And so I was like, okay, fun. Like I don't really play basketball, but whatever. And so we play one-on-one basketball and I beat him. I don't think he was letting me win.
I'm really good at basketball naturally, you know. Grew up playing, played in high school, you know, won 2 intramural championships at BYU. So I'm pretty good as far as basketball goes. Maddy was a flag football star in high school, so she's pretty all right, but like definitely not her specialty, you know. But I was trying to woo her at the time, and so I let her win. She beat me 3-2, so it was a really close game, buzzer beater. She beat me.
It was kind of interesting because I was going on dates. So it was Hollis's birthday party, and I was kind of going on dates with Hollis at that point because Katie had like set us up and we had like done our double and gone on like, me and Hollis like gone on a couple other dates and stuff. And so I like kind of went like we weren't exclusive, but I was like, we were kind of dating. And so I wasn't really like looking to date anyone else at the time, but I had this like kind of weird thought when like I was playing on one-on-one with Tav. I remember like looking in his eyes and just kind of feeling like our souls connected or something. And I just like looked at him in his eyes for a second and was like, I would enjoy dating you better than I would enjoy dating Hollis. But like I didn't like connect that at the time, obviously, and so I was like, it was kind of just like a weird, brief, like fleeting thought.
I was telling all my buddies, I was like, yo, like I played basketball with this girl. They were like, oh bro, we saw you playing basketball with her. And I was like, yeah dude, I let her win too. They were like, oh bro, you got her good, like she's done for. And I was like, oh, I know, you're telling me. And so then I remember, like I was like, who knows, like I'll probably see her some social event later. Wouldn't you know it, she slides into my DMs. I was like, what? Like she really liked me that much? Like that's crazy. But she slid into my DMs and was like, oh my gosh, like you are so funny and so fun to hang out with and you're just amazing. And I was like, wow, this is great. And I like showed my friend. I was like, yo, look at this. Like, this is sweet, bro. And then he's like, oh yeah, bro, she sent me the same one. I was like, what the freak, dude? Like, what is wrong with this girl? First she blows me off, and then she literally slides into my DMs and all my friends' DMs. So I just, I was like, I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she doesn't know how things work around here in Provo, Utah. She's from Alaska, served in New Zealand, so maybe not super familiar with the way things go.
So, and like I said, I was kind of dating this other guy, but I felt bad because I think I accidentally turned Tavin down like 5 or 6 times. He invited me to like a come follow me night. He invited me to play like a rematch in like one-on-one basketball. He invited me to like go get smoothies or ice cream or whatever. He invited me to go blow up things in a cave.
We were just chatting. I was like, oh, like you're not too bad yourself, like you're pretty cool. And so I was like, hey, like we should go like do something this week. Like, do you want to like, I know it's finals week, but do you want to like take a break, go get some ice cream? She's like, oh, actually, like I have no time, and like then I'm going home. And I was like, oh, cool, cool story, bro. So one of my best friends, Cody, he set up this triple date for me, him, and our other friend Grayson, and we're gonna go blow stuff up in the caves. I text Maddy. It was like, yo, like, do you want to go blow stuff up in the cave? And she's like, oh, that sounds so fun, like what time? And so I like gave her the time, and then she's like, well, I just have like this, I don't know what it was, like bachelorette party, whatever girls do. She's like, but like maybe afterwards. So I was like, all right, cool, and I wasn't trying to tell her it was a date because I was trying to like keep her guessing, literally like the time of the date goes by, don't hear from her, and so I just tell my buddies like, go on without me, so they go blow stuff up, and then I get a text from Maddy like an hour and a half later, and she's like, oh, like I just finished, like is it too late? And I was like, yeah, it's way too late, you missed your shot with me, it's over. Honestly, that 3 strikes and you're out, and she already had 3 strikes, but I said, maybe we'll give her a 4th one, see if she swings or not. So yeah, she definitely struck out on her 4th strike as well. So the 4th strike was, I called her finally. It was like, yo, I'm tired of these games. So I called her and was like, yo, like let's go on a double date. So I was setting up my friend Miles, who she had also slid into his DMs. So that was kind of fun. But I was like, let's go on this double date. And she was like, oh my gosh, I would love to, but I'm actually going to like DTR with this guy right now, and we might like date. And I was like, dude, what the heck?
And he was like, hey Maddy, like, do you want to go on a date? It's like a group date like this weekend or something. And like it was really nice. I honestly probably would have gone because I was like, okay, like it's an actual date. He called me, like I probably would have said yes for sure. But I told him, I was like, I'm actually like on my way to have like a conversation with Hollis. Like I think we might like make it official tonight, like kind of like date exclusively. But I was like, but if we don't, then I'll for sure like hit you up and we can go on this date. And the thing I remember the most about this experience, and I honestly think that's why like I was so receptive to dating Tav later on after me and Hollis broke up, was Tav responded and was like super, super nice about it. He was like, oh yeah, like totally understand, like no worries at all. Like super happy for you. And it was like the day before my birthday too. So he was like, have like the best birthday, like it's your Michael Jordan year or whatever. And he was just super nice.
And so she texted me later that night. It's like, oh yeah, like I have a boyfriend. And I was like, oh dang, that's really awesome. I'm super happy for you. And so then me and Maddy didn't really talk because she dated the guy for like 4 months. This is the guy that she initially went to go meet at volleyball night. So like really just did me super dirty after all the hard work and effort I put in. I mean, we'd see each other occasionally. You know, I'd give her a little bit of the cold shoulder, but not cold enough to where she knew I was giving her the cold shoulder, you know, just, you know how it is.
He's super funny. I remember like when I first met like Tavin was getting to know him, he was like so funny. Him and his best friend Guillermo were hilarious.
But then we were both signed up for HCFY, which is this like humanitarian experience for youth. And so we went down to Lake Powell. She was a trip leader, I was a trip leader. A lot of our friends were like trip leaders. And so I was going to Ecuador and she was going to Belize. And she was still dating this guy, and so her best. Wow, that was crazy.
The next thing that kind of happened for us was like the game changer. Our trip leader training was in Lake Powell, and so all the trip leaders had to drive up to Lake Powell for a few days to get like trained to be able to take all of their like 20 kids on international trips or whatever. We stopped at this restaurant in Kanab called Big Al's. They have such good burgers and sweet potato fries and shakes. But we stopped at Big Al's, and then the Ecuador tribe, Tavin's tribe, also stopped at Big Al's for burgers on the way up to Lake Powell. And so we stopped, we like got our food, we saw like the Ecuador tribe, and I saw Tavin. It was super fun to like see Tav. Like we hadn't seen each other in a while, and so we just like caught up for a second, and he told me he had been like selling solar or whatever, and it was like pretty brief. Like we just like chatted for a couple minutes, but it was really fun to like catch up. I was like, oh, he's so nice and whatever. And then we like got back in the car with like my Belize tribe, and he got back in the car with his like Ecuador people. And my friend Mo Green, who I had like just met like through HCFY, through being a trip leader, so I hadn't known her for a long time. So we're really good friends now, but like that was kind of the first time I'd met her. And we get back in the car, and Mo was like, she was like, dude, like that guy's in love with you, like who is he? And I'm like, what? Like I'm so confused, because like Mo knew that I had a boyfriend at the time. Like I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, it's just like my friend Tavin, like he's super nice. And I was like, what makes you think that like he's in love with me? And she's like, his eyes were so dilated. And I was like, what does that even mean?
So we're at Lake Powell, trip leader training. She's still dating this guy. I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know what she saw in him. So they're still dating. And you know, I'm like very cordial, very nice with Maddy. And so she's super cool. She was always super kind, super sweet, super pretty. And so, you know, we'd always say hi, but I definitely wasn't trying to like be buddy with her, you know.
I actually ended up breaking up with Hollis that night in Lake Powell. I had been planning on breaking up with him for probably like a week or so. It just like wasn't feeling right anymore. And I like was walking to breakfast, in Lake Powell, and I remember I bumped into Tav.
And so I remember, I think it was the second day there, me and my co run into Maddy, and I was just like, hey Maddy, like what's up, like how are you doing? And she's like, oh, like I'm okay. And I was like, okay. And it's like, how'd you sleep last night? Like just try and make conversation.
I maybe slept for like an hour or two.
She's like, oh, I slept terribly. And I was like, oh, yikes, why?
Like I just like told Tav for some reason.
She's like, oh, like, and me and my boyfriend broke up. And I was like, oh my, it's like, dang girl, that's crazy. But then I was like low-key like, this is my chance. And so but then I was also like, dude, she's down too, because like she just told me blatantly that she broke up with her boyfriend. So I was like, dude, if that's not a green light, I don't know what is a green light.
Honestly, that whole weekend kind of like sucked. Like it's just hard. But I do have this random memory at the end of Lake Powell when Tavin and Guillermo like came and like hung out with me. There was this big bonfire and all the trip leaders were hanging out, and Tavin and Guillermo came over and they were just being so funny. Like I was just like laughing so hard the whole night.
And like we were chatting and I was being super funny and she thought I was being super funny and we were just kind of hitting it off, you know?
Like I didn't have a crush on Tavin at that point because like I just was still like recovering, but it was kind of like, oh, like he's so fun, he's so nice and like funny, like I want to hang out with him, you know?
And so that happened, but I'd already literally tried to ask her on like 500 dates. And so I was like, dude, I'm not trying to ask her on the 501st date. That would be really awkward. So we get back from Lake Powell, go back to our lives. Pretty much there's this like internship that you can do with HEFY. It's where you work for free, so it's really not that cool, but they trick you into thinking it's really cool. Even though we abolished slavery a long time ago, so I don't know why they think that's okay. But I got offered it, and I like had heard mixed reviews about it. So I talked to my and she's like, you should talk to Maddy. And I was like, oh, Maddy, okay. I think I texted Maddy, and what's crazy, Maddy didn't tell you this, but I'll tell you. Maddy was literally scrolling through our text messages with each other, just wishing that I would text her. She's just scrolling like, oh, if only this guy would text me, you know? And then boom, I did, which was pretty awesome. So, you know, spiritual prompting, I followed it. Here we are, we're married. It's great.
I remember like I kind of was like hoping that Tav would reach out and like want to like hang out and stuff. I kind of felt weird about reaching out because like our going on dates thing before like hadn't really worked out. So I kind of felt weird about it, and I kind of felt like, not that like the ball was in Tav's court because I didn't really feel like there was like any romantic interest between us yet, but just kind of like I wanted him to reach out. I didn't want to be the one to reach out. So anyways, he did, and I was so happy. He called me one time to ask a question about like an HEFY internship. So that's how we started talking. And then we, like, when he called to ask me about it, we just like stayed on the phone for a long time, just like talking about other things. And it was super fun. So then after that, we kind of just like kept texting quite a bit and pretty much just texted like every day for the rest of our lives.
She invited me to this like rooftop bonfire thing. She's like, hey, you should come. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, that sounds great. Like, yeah, I'll be there. I just remember like, I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. And like, I didn't hear back from her. Like, I don't know if I was supposed to just like jump in a helicopter and go look for like bonfires on rooftops in Provo, Utah, or what I was supposed to do, but never heard from her. When I was like, okay, like, can I get an address? I was like, she's like, oh yeah, for sure. And I was like, well, like, could you just pick me up? And so she's like, she picked me up. She won't tell you this either, but she had to turn around to pick me up. It's because she wanted to pick me up. So she turns around, picks me up, we go to this bonfire. Literally nobody. This is all her friends. So we literally like, we're chatting, walk up the elevator. The second the like elevator hits the top, she's gone. Like talking to friends. I'm like, dude, I don't know anybody here.
We went to this rooftop bonfire, like marshmallow or s'more thing or something. And that was like fun. We like hung out.
And so I'm just like left all alone, like just battling out there to try and make friendships, you know, meet some new people.
I remember another thing we did was we went swing dancing one time. And this was kind of when I realized like maybe I had like a baby crush on Tav, because I remember like he was so adamant about he would never swing dance ever in his life. Like he hated swing dancing, he would never do it. And so we'd been hanging out. Oh, it was at the bonfire, the s'mores thing. And then after I was going country dancing and I was like, Tav, like you should come. And he was like, no. And I'm like, it'll be really fun.
And I'm like, that like does not sound like a good time. Be honest, like not really my thing. I'm not really like a big, you know, dancer guy. And so I was like, ugh, like fine, I'll go. And so we go to this like random dirt parking lot. There are all these cars with like their front like headlights on to like make the country dancing like in the middle. And it was cool. Now, I'm not very good. It's not really my thing. Maddy is a natural. She's over there like doing backward bend over cartwheel windmills like in the air. Like she is literally like doing the craziest tricks. Like she's doing like reverse Titanic front flips. I'm like, I'm over here like just trying to do normal stuff. And like I'm like embarrassing myself over here, you know. I'm in the corner of the circle where it's darkest and where you can't see me, and because my dark skin, you really can't see me. It was like super bad, and then at the end, like towards the end, she's like, "Oh, like come dance with me," and I'm like about to get humiliated, you know. But she was a great teacher. She taught me some cool tricks. It turned out okay. It was super fun. It was fun dancing with her.
He danced with other girls for a while, and like I danced with other guys, and like it was like super casual. But then like we danced with each other at the end, and it was like magic. Like it was so fun, and like he's just so easy to be around, and he was so cute.
And I was like, oh, like that's kind of fun, you know, like maybe we would do that again, maybe not, who knows. But I had a really good time, and I, you know, still had a crush on her at the time. And so we get in the car, you know, I'm in the back with her roommate, and we're just chatting. And so we're like chatting and all, and she's up in the front like talking about her breakup with her boyfriend and all this stuff. And it's just like, well, oh. The crazy thing too is the other guy that she's sitting in the front with, he was also super interested in her. But you know, me and her roommate were just like chatting in the back, you know.
Clayton asked about like my breakup with Hollis, and so I started telling him about it, and apparently it annoyed Tav, and so he just like started talking to my roommate Jane. And so I've been talking to Clayton for a while, and then I realized that like Tav was just talking to Jane, and I wanted to talk to Tav. And so I remember kind of getting like annoyed, being like, are you gonna talk to me?
And little did you know that actually, you know, got under Maddy's skin just a little bit.
And then that's when I realized, like, maybe I have like a baby crush on Tav.
But then I sent her a super nice text, and I was like, hey, like, we should do something Friday. Still not a date. Remember this. Not a date. But it was a date, but she didn't know that.
Okay, so then Tav finally asked me on a date again. He didn't even call it a date though, again. He thinks it's like really smart to do that because then the girl doesn't get freaked out or whatever. And maybe he's right, I don't know.
But I was like, we should do something Friday. And she's like, yeah, like, let's do something Friday. And so I was trying to figure out what to do. I didn't know what she'd want to do. So I had a couple different options. So I pick her up Friday. It was like, here are the options. She chooses the best one, which is like go to the Mexican market, get some ingredients to make arepas and fresas con crema. So we take it back to my house and we make the food, and it's super fun, and we're like chatting, and we make some bomb food.
And it was really fun. I just remember it was so fun to walk around the store with him, and I just remember feeling like it was so easy to be around him. He taught me like some bachata and some salsa and merengue, and it was just like super fun and super easy to be around him. I remember it was funny though because I was running a half marathon the next morning, and I told Tav, I was like, okay, like let's go on this date, but listen, like I have to be back by like 10 or 10:30 because I need to go to bed because I'm waking up at 2:30 a.m. because I have to go to this bus stop and get on the bus to, because like they were busing us up to our half marathon spot really early in the morning. And so so I was like, yeah, like you have to have me home by like 10 or 10:30. And he was like, oh, for sure. Like looking back, like I don't know why, like knowing him now, I'm like, of course he's not going to have me back by 10 or 10:30. Like that's just not Tav. Like he doesn't really keep track of time. Like he has good intentions, but it doesn't usually like work out that way. And like, of course he didn't. So it's like midnight and we're still like hanging out at his house. But like, honestly, to be fair, like I didn't really want to go home either. I woke up super early and ran my race, and even though like I hadn't slept very much, I remember thinking like, good thing I like kind of like him because it kind of gave me like the adrenaline to like run the race even though I hadn't slept. So that was good.
Yeah, I kept her way too long, but we were having a good time, you know. She had asked to go home, so I wasn't trying to take her home. So then I feel like we started like texting more and like kind of chatting, but we were kind of like, we just had a lot of different trips. Like she went home to Arizona, she went to St. George, I went to Hawaii. But I went out there and I actually flew home a day early so I could go on another date with Maddy. It's still to this day controversial as if to it was whether it was a date or not. It definitely was. She made me Creole. I don't know if you know what Creole is. Just imagine if you like, you know, found like, you know, 4 different plots of land and you grabbed dirt from each one of those and then you like mashed it up. And and then you like sneezed in it a couple times and poured some hot water in. Like that's Creole. That's kind of what it tastes like. She made some of that for me. I drank it, like tried not to let it blow out my nose. I was like, whoa. I was like, wow, that's really good. Can you send me this recipe, you know? Like, had to do what you had to do, you know?
Okay, so then the sad part came where me and Tav both had to go on our HFY trips, and I was gonna spend a month in Belize, and he was spending a month in Ecuador. And it was kind of a bummer for both of us because, like, we were just gonna be apart the whole summer, and we've, like, kind of at that point, I think we kind of, like, liked each other a little bit. And so it was kind of a bummer.
So yeah, so we're like chatting and stuff, and you know, I'm like, dude, I gotta like jump on this cute girl. She's gonna get swooped up if I don't do something. So I'm thinking like, you know what, like we'll chat while I'm gone. It'll be great. We'll come back, pick right up where we left off.
So I remember I told Tab before he left on his trip, I was like, okay, like have a good trip. Like I'll talk to you in August when we're both back or something. And he like said something funny. He was like, what the heck? He's like, are we not gonna like talk like over the summer?
And I was like, what the freak? Like she's literally saying this and I'm about to go on this trip.
And in my head I was like, we're gonna be so busy, like we're not gonna have like time to talk, and like we're not like officially or exclusively dating or anything.
And so I was like, yo, that's messed up. But I suggested the idea that we like Marco Polo, and she was actually way down. And so throughout our trips, we would just like Marco Polo. And so after I'd put the kids to bed in Ecuador, I would like send her Marco Polo. If we had a chance, we would talk.
The night before he left for his trip, I was out of town. But he had like called me and we were talking, and then I remember I got back into town and I found this like package in this note by my door, and it was like in this cute little box that had like Mexican treats, like these little mango chili pepper suckers that we had gotten on our first date, and like some other Mexican candy that he wanted me to try. And then he wrote this like super sweet note.
It actually, because I dropped off that goodie box, I missed my flight to the airport to Ecuador. So honestly, I'm out here sacrificing a lot for this girl because she was worth it and awesome. But I did miss my flight, but then I still made it to Ecuador in time.
And so we just like talked a ton on our trips. We like would stay up so late. Like I have like so many screenshots on my phone of like our phone calls that lasted like 4 or 5 hours every night.
But we talked for a long time. Like we talked for hours on end. And so I go to bed at like 2 or 3 in the morning and then wake up at 7 a.m. to go mix concrete. And I was just absolutely wasted.
He was such a good question asker. Like he asked me questions about everything, and that was like that was one of my like top attributes that I was looking for in someone. And so I was just so grateful that he like asked me so many questions. He was so genuine. He was so funny.
Yeah, it was just like really, really good conversation. Like she would always ask a lot of questions and I'd ask a lot of questions, and you know, we learned a lot about each other and super fun, and I, you know, liked her more and more. One conversation I remember is I was in Galapagos on my second trip, and that's kind of like when we discovered that we liked each other, or like not discovered, but officially said that we did. So that was fun. That was a highlight. And then I remember sometime towards the end of my trip, I just wrote in my journal that I loved her. Definitely didn't tell her, but I wrote it in my journal. We chatted on her trip. We definitely chatted less because she needs a lot more sleep. It would literally be like 12, it'd be like midnight, and we just like been chatting for like 20 minutes. She's like, oh yeah, I gotta go to bed, I'm super tired. And I was like, bruh, like I was literally up to like 3 or 4 a.m. chatting with you. But she would call me Sunday mornings, which is super nice. It was like super early. She called me like 6 a.m. and I was like so tired. I'm generally not a morning person.
Tav's like built different. And so I just would get so tired, and I'd go to bed at like 11. And so we'd like send a Marco Polo or like sometimes call briefly, but I was like, there's no way, like I'm staying up late like we did before. So we didn't talk quite as much on my trip, but we still talked like every day. And like by that point, I think by the time like towards the end of Tav's trip and the beginning of my trip, we like definitely knew we had like fat crushes on each other. We would always say like I like you so much, because we couldn't say I love you because you can't like do that over the phone. So I wrote in my journal like probably the last couple days of my trip, so it was like the beginning of August or middle of August-ish. I wrote in my journal that I thought that I like loved Tav, because I remember one time we were calling on the phone, he was like sitting in this parking lot and we were FaceTiming, and then he like, it was like late Saturday night, and then he like went and did something like in his car and then like drove back to the same spot, and I was like, random, like what the heck did you just go do? I didn't even like think about it. Like he was just doing his thing and we were just chatting. But then like the next morning I woke up and realized like it was kind of a weird like realization, but I was like, oh, like he went to go get gas on Saturday night before it turned to Sunday. And I just thought it was like so sweet, and for some reason, like I don't know why, like that did it for me, and I was like, I like think I love him.
She got back from her trip, and honestly the rest is history.
Yeah, so then I come home from Belize in like the middle of August, and Tab picks me up from the airport, and it was really sweet because so the whole time I was in Belize, apparently I talked a lot about how much like I missed fresh fruits and vegetables. And so Tab was really cute and picked me up from the airport and brought me like fresh pineapple, fresh strawberries, like all this fresh fruit. And like as soon as we like got in the car, he like kissed my head and like held my hand, and it was super cute. Like we were just like so excited to be together. We had waited so long, we had talked so much, we were just like so excited to finally be together.
I was super stoked to see her. We both knew we liked each other, low-key loved each other already, which was crazy. And I actually went into the airport and waited for her and surprised her when she like came through the gates. And so we hugged, and it was great. It was awesome and magical and fantastic.
I don't know, I knew that we were gonna kiss soon, like there was no way that we were gonna wait very long, but I kind of heard, I think from his friend, that like he wanted to kiss me in Lake Powell. We were going to Lake Powell in a couple days, like after I got home. And so I was like, oh, he'll probably like kiss me in Lake Powell.
And then I remember I was gonna maybe wait to kiss her, but then, you know, just vibes were great.
But so the night that I got home, he took me up to this canyon, Slate Canyon, and it was like he wanted to watch the sunset, and I was like, okay, like let's go watch the sunset. And so we went and watched, and it was really pretty. It was really fun. We just like sat on this like table, like one of those like park table bench things.
And I took her to Slate Canyon Park as the sun was setting. And crazy, well, not like a fun fact, it's like a lame fact, but that's actually where she was on her way to when I called her on that double date. And she's like, I'm gonna go DTR with this guy. It was Slate Canyon Park. I didn't know that. I'm talking in this New Zealand accent. I'm weirdly kind of good at it for some reason. I've watched a lot of Hunt for the Wilder People. So I kind of got it from there. But I'm talking this accent. She served her mission in New Zealand, you know, just... so she really liked it. And then I kissed her. And it was just really cute and fun. And then he just kissed me. Then a couple days later, we started dating. I remember we were just like cuddling, hanging out. And I was like, will you be my girlfriend? And she's like, yeah. And then I was like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I got asked that so much better. So the next day I brought her flowers. And it's like, this is more official. Will you now be my girlfriend? And we were definitely like in like a hardcore honeymoon phase. Like, yeah, we would just hang out like 24/7. He was using all these like big like words, like I just want to be with you forever, like you're the best girl I know, like I've ever met, and like I want it to be you, and all these like big things. And I was like, wow, like I guess like I knew for sure that Tav loved me, but in that moment I was like, he's pretty much telling me he loves me. He's just like not saying it in words. I actually told him first that I loved him because it was just so obvious. Yeah, so I was like, hey, like I don't even remember how I said it honestly, but I told him that I'd written it in my journal like a couple weeks ago, like I thought that I loved him, and I was like, I honestly like think that I do love you. And he was like, I actually wrote that in my journal like back in July or whatever, and he's like, I love you too. And so we go out on her balcony. It's nice, like a little nice private balcony, and we told each other we loved each other there. Like I think we were both like, wow, like this is crazy. We love each other, you know? So it was, yeah, like just a super beautiful experience. But yeah, dating was great. I mean, yeah, we just really do everything together. Yeah, I tend to talk about things like they're going to happen, which they will, but not necessarily on any specific timeline. After dating a couple months, I think that's where like some confusion came in, because like I said, like if I had known Tav like I do now at the time, all this would have made sense. But
me and Tav are just we have such different personalities, and so at the time, like it didn't really, the things Tav was doing and saying like didn't line up, and that didn't make any sense to me. We kind of like talked about getting married and like just kind of threw it out there, and we were like, oh, like that's what we want to do, like we love each other, whatever. And I had never like said that to anyone before. Like I've said like I love you to like a small handful of people, but like never talked about marriage with anyone. Like I just like had never liked anyone that much. Like I'm usually pretty quick to like break up with people. Usually if I know they're super into me, like it's a turn off for me, but for some reason like it was all just different with Tav. And Tav was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna propose to you like next month when we're in Hawaii, and like we just gotta like take you to meet my mom and then I'll propose to you. And I was like, okay, like yeah, like let's do it. Like it was so fast, but I was like, I guess if you know, you know.
Once Maddy makes a decision, she's made her decision, and like that's her decision. For me, I take a long time to make decisions. I am a slow decision maker. So we talked about marriage. I was like, yeah, like I'd love for you to be the one. Like we should get married. I obviously didn't understand like even the slightest thing about girls and how they work. And we talked about December.
But then like, of course, like it just never happened. Like we never got it. Like we just, I don't know, like weren't planning anything. We didn't get engaged. And so eventually like it kind of caused some contention, because I was like, dude, like what's going on? Like all this stuff that you told me, like it's not happening. Like it's not true.
Obviously some poor planning and miscommunication on my part. So I fully take the blame for that.
He always like would always tell me that like he wanted to get married and we were going to get married, but it was like he just wanted to do it in his own time and stuff. And so anyways, I think it was just confusing, because I was like, okay, like we didn't get engaged in September like when you told me you would. We didn't get engaged like after I met your mom like you told me we would. So we were just both confused. So we broke up in like February maybe.
And then we were broken up for only like 3 or 4 weeks. We didn't really stop talking at all. We just like broke up, still kept talking.
It was kind of like a short breakup, but I felt like we were kind of on the same page after that. We had like more communication about it, and like, of course, like we obviously still loved each other. We loved hanging out with each other. And so I was like, well, we're just supposed to be together, I guess. So we got back together, and it was honestly like so fun dating. We did so many fun things. Like went to Switzerland and Germany together. We went to Hawaii together. We did lots of like Lake Powell trips. We went to Mexico to visit one of his like converts from his mission. And we went to California to like see other parts of his mission.
We like went on this trip to Europe together, just us two, like didn't plan anything, like went to Switzerland and Germany and stayed with Maddy's mission companion, and that was super fun. We just did like so many. We went to a lot of weddings together. Like we, went to game night. We just like everything we did was together, and it was super fun. And so that summer, she went to Africa on an HFY trip. I went to Fiji, and we were dating during those trips. But like that kind of issue of when we would get married still kind of like continued. But I will tell you 2 distinct memories. Maddy really likes this stuff, so I occasionally try to remember specific things. One of them was we were going to my friend's wedding. Her name is Madeline, and her husband also did HFY. We're going to their wedding, and I can't remember why, but Maddy was like, pull over. And so I like pull over. We're in the middle of the mountains. She's like, I need to go pick those flowers. And I was like, okay. That was super random, but she goes, picks the flowers, and she's wearing this light blue dress, and I don't know, I just thought to myself like, wow, like she's really pretty, and like I really love her, I don't know, it's just kind of a random memory. And then the other one that I remember we hadn't been dating very long, but I just hung out at her house. It's probably the night we talked about getting married, honestly, and I called my parents, and I think I texted my best friend Guillermo and was like, yo, I'm gonna marry this girl. And my parents were super stoked, and Guillermo was like, you're crazy, bro, you like barely know her. So those are 2 things I remember.
So we were gone a lot of that next summer again, and then we got back in the fall, and like I was starting at the dental hygiene program, and Tav was doing his last year at BYU. And so I think like we were stressed. I think there was probably just a few factors, but I remember like there was one day where like I was frustrated with Tav because like he said he was gonna do something and then he didn't, and I was like, dude, like. And I also just felt like we had dated for a whole nother summer. At this point, we had been like dating for a year, like seriously talking for like a year and a half. And I was like, okay, like I'm so confused. Like we were gonna get married like 8 months ago. We've been talking about it for forever. Like I just don't understand. You know, I was like, we're not progressing. You always say we are and we're going to and we're gonna get engaged soon, but like we never do. And so I broke up with him again. And this was like what I call like our real breakup. Like we were both so sad. I think I was really like more sad at first than Tav was, and then I like healed like pretty steadily through that time period, and like by December like I was feeling like pretty much back to normal. I was feeling good. But I know like for Tav it was kind of opposite. Like at first he was like, okay, like that sucks, like, but he was fine, but then like it got really, really hard for him at the end. So anyways, we broke up. It like honestly was the crappiest time of my life. Like I was so sad. We still loved each other so much, but like it just wasn't going anywhere.
But so then we broke up again in August, because we still couldn't figure out the whole marriage thing. So that was kind of a bummer. Super sad actually. I remember the night we broke up, we were like on the phone all night, and like we like were on the phone, and I think we both fell asleep, and then she had to go to school, and it was like, all right, well, goodbye. And so we didn't talk for like 2 months. That was like a real breakup.
And I remember Tav kept saying like he wanted it to work out, he wanted this to be it, and like if it was meant to be then it would work out. And I was like, dude, like it's not gonna work out. Like this is it, like we're done, like we're never gonna get back together. Okay, so yeah, so we were like broken up for 4 months, and then so by, like I said, by December, like I was feeling like pretty good again. Like I had been going on dates for like a couple months at that point, and like I hated a lot of them, but I was finally getting to the point where I was like, okay, like I can do this again. Like I have my feet back under me, and I had been like seeing a therapist and stuff, and so I was feeling good. And then of course, like that's when Tav reaches back out. And so it was like the beginning of December. I had just finished up my first semester of dental hygiene school, and he reached back out and he was like, and I had like deleted Tav's number from my phone because I like knew that if I kept his number, like I would text him. And so I just like was like, I have to delete this. So I deleted it, and so I got this text from this like unknown number that was like, hey, can we talk? But like obviously that's Tav, like who else would it be? And so I was like, yeah, like for sure. So he came over to my house.
And then honestly, it's kind of crazy. We still kind of like ran in the same friends group and stuff, but the only reason we connected again was because actually like Maddy, I think the biggest thing was Maddy and her roommate asked my best friend Guillermo to go take pictures of them, and just for funsies, because I don't even know. And I was like, you could literally ask any other photographer on this planet to go take pictures, and you're gonna ask my best friend, you know? And so that kind of bothered me a little bit, you know? And then I just remember one specific time, and to Maddy's credit, it wasn't her fault, but I literally came home from a Jazz game one night, and I'm like, walking into my house, look in my living room, Maddy's there. I was like, what are you doing in my house? To her credit, she'd been invited to my house, not by my roommate, by some other bozo. But I was like kind of irked by these things, and like I still cared for Maddy, still loved her, but like I didn't want to like have these things like have these things that I'm upset about and not talk to her about, because then like, you know, they just kind of build up. And so I just texted her out of the blue one day and was like, yo, like can we chat? And so we go and chat, and I was like kind of upset about these things, and another, like, not to get into it, but just like a trip to Arizona that she was taking with some of our friends. And so we kind of talked about everything. I was kind of upset. She like handled it super well, but then she got tired of handling it super well, and then she like got upset at me too, and it turned into this like argument.
We talked for a while, and I remember like he came over and he was just like so mad at me. So pretty much like he just wanted to come over to like vent at me. And so anyways, so I like apologized. I probably also kind of got mad at him. I don't really remember, but
she had written in this letter, like, it was super sweet, super tender letter. It was like, thank you for all the things you taught me. And I do some small quirky things. Like whenever I fill up the gas, I always fill it up to I round it up to a flat dollar amount. And so she was like, yeah, like you've taught me so much. And she's like, now because of you, like, I love to watch the NBA basketball. And like, I like always like round up my gas when I get it because it reminds me of you, and I can like officially move on and all this stuff. And honestly, like, was like a super powerful letter, and then made me sad because I missed her.
He was mad at me at the end because he's like, you just like don't care about me. And I'm like, I do care about you. Like, we're not dating though. Like I don't love you like that anymore. Like we're like moved on. And then I remember he like started like, he got like really sad and like started crying.
And so then, you know, she was being super sweet, and like it was just kind of like her couch was super uncomfortable at the time. Like, you think this couch is uncomfy? Hers was like 10 times worse. And so like, you know, my back's like half broken, and I'm like trying to like lay there, and I was like, can we lay down? Thinking like we were just gonna like, I'll show you, go like this, you know. But then she was like, oh yeah, for sure. Grabs my hand and rushes me off to her bedroom.
When he said like he wants to go lay down, I was like obviously like in a bed, like we were just sitting like on this super uncomfortable couch. And so I don't know, he like tells this part like he perceived all this differently, but I was like, sure. And so we went and like laid down on my bed,
and I was like, oh my gosh. And then we made out, so that was pretty cool.
In my head, like it's just like a NICMO, right? Like there was no like commitment. It was just like whatever, like he's sad, like we're both moved on, like we'll just like kiss for a second, and then like it'll just kind of be the end. Like it was like closure almost. And I remember I even told my roommate after, I was like, yeah, like was kind of sad because it was really fun. Like it was so fun to like be with him again, kiss him again. But I was like, it was also kind of sad because I was like, that was the last time that I'm ever gonna kiss him, you know?
And then that, like, she apparently thought it was just like a one and done. I'm like, the heck? You don't just one and done me. That won't happen to me.
I remember like the next day, like Tav reached out again, and he like asked if I wanted to come chat for a sec. We just talked like for hours, and he like poured his heart out and I poured my heart out. He had like learned so much about like where I had been coming from. Like he's like, yeah, like I totally get like why you were like upset with me and frustrated, and why like things weren't adding up and like making sense.
That was a big turning point in our relationship, and I just told her like I learned a lot of things, and like I was sorry for a lot of the miscommunications and things I'd done.
And obviously at that point I was still like pretty hurt by like everything that had happened. It was just kind of traumatic. And so like I was definitely interested because I love Tav, and like if like we were on the same page, then like that's amazing. But like I also didn't quite trust that because we had been down that road before like multiple times.
Yeah, so then it was crazy because like she didn't invite me on her friend's trip down to Arizona, but I don't remember if it was her or I, but we like had the idea that I go visit her right before Christmas. And so I flew down. I actually spent Christmas Eve and Christmas morning with her family, drove to my family's house. And then we started dating again in January, and it was great.
I just felt like we were finally like on the same page and like had the same goals and timelines and whatever. There was like still one little hiccup left though, which is kind of funny. Tav like really wanted this engagement to be a surprise.
But she like wanted to know when we were getting engaged, and I was like, listen, that's for me to know and you to find out. And she was not okay with that.
I was like, dude, like we know we're getting married. I couldn't even like ask about it, or he'd get like, it was really touchy because he just wanted me to know nothing about it. So I remember that like it was like such a thing, like that was so real that like we had to take this weird random little like, it was like a couple weeks of like this random break, because if we were like to keep dating during that time, then like I would know too much and stuff. And so pretty much I feel like honestly the only reason for that break was just so that I would have no idea what was going on and Tav could make it a surprise.
And so we took a little breakcito for 2 weeks so that I could surprise her. And so little did she know, during that breakcito, I flew down to Arizona with my friends. I took her parents out to dinner, asked them if I could marry her, and got all this stuff planned. Chat with her roommates.
And so at that point, though, I was so annoyed. I was like, dude, like, I'm like tired of this. Like, you can propose whenever, but like, I'm moving home to Arizona for the summer. I'm gonna like work for my dad. Like, I'm not gonna stay in Utah just like wondering if like we're gonna get engaged or like get married. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go do my thing. Like, you do your thing, whatever. See you. I like was dead serious about that. I packed up my whole house. Everything was packed. I was living out of a suitcase. I had like 2 days left of the semester, and then I was out of there. I was gonna drive home, and he would like be super sweet and like leave flowers, leave notes at my house, like clean my bedroom, whatever. He would do little things for me to like remind me that he loved me, but I was like so over it. I just was like, whatever.
Maddy thought she was gonna go to this little boutique photo shoot, like doesn't even exist. She thought she was gonna get a $250 Lululemon gift card. But we totally had this all planned out. And so pretty much she thought she's going to this boutique photo shoot, and I was just gonna propose at Memorial Park.
My roommate Jane came into my room. She was like, hey, like super excited. She was like, I have this friend from my mission who's starting a boutique in Provo, and she wants to do like a photo shoot for her jewelry, and she'll pay us like in like $200 worth of Lululemon gift cards. And so I was like, yeah, for sure, like I'll totally do that. But I was like, but I am like moving and I have finals this week, so put me down as like a probably, but I like that sounds way fun. So she's like, okay, sounds good. So it was just so like legitimate though. There were so many details. She changed like the contact names in her phone. Like she changed Tavin's name to Lizzie and Drew's name to Sarah or something. And so she would like coordinate with Lizzie and Sarah, and she would like screenshot stuff and be like, this is what Lizzie said. Like dress code is beach waves and like sun-kissed makeup and boutique clothes and whatever. And so I was like, so I like didn't even think anything of it. So then that day, like after school, like I got ready. She like did my nails for me. I could have figured it out, but I didn't. I just like did not even think about it. I was like moving in like 2 days. And so I was like, there's no way. Like, I think he'll probably come to Arizona at some point over the summer, ask my parents, like feel things out for a second and then propose. But no, that's not what happened. We pulled up to Memorial Park, and it was just like, still did not cross my mind. I was like, oh, this is so funny. This is where me and Tavin met. And she's like, oh, no way. And so we got out of the car, and then I see this like black sheet hung up, and in my mind it's like a camera like backdrop, or like, you know, they do like the lighting things with like whatever. So I thought it was some sort of like camera setup for the photo shoot, and I was like, oh, Jane, like I think it's over there. And she's like, I don't think that's it, like I think it's over here. There's literally not like another soul in this park because it's like April and it's still cold. So I'm like, dude, like obviously it's over there, like what are you talking about? So she's like, okay, like maybe it is, like go check it out. And so I'm like, okay. She's like, tell me if that's it. I'm gonna go check over here. I'm like, okay, like you're being so weird. So I go like check out this like black screen. I like, you know, still am not even like thinking about anything. I like turn around the corner, and there's like all these roses and candles on the floor and stuff. And I was like, what the heck?
I set up like this big black, it's just a bed sheet from Amazon actually, so she couldn't see it, but I set up rose petals and like lights, candles, pictures. And so her roommate, you know, comes, and so me, her roommate, Guillermo, and then my family was like in on it. And so I just remember we've got it all set up. She's there. She comes around the corner, and she sees the rose petals, looks up and sees me, you know, and I'm standing there with flowers, and she's just like, she goes like this, covers her mouth, probably for like 2 whole minutes. Like, I mean, the first like, you know, like 60 to 90 seconds were like, oh, that's so cute, you know, and then the last like 30 seconds was pretty uncomfortable.
I just stood there with my hand over my mouth for a long time.
You know, everyone's like, what's gonna happen now? So finally her roommate is like, yo, like go towards him, like go see him. And so she gives me a big hug, we kiss, we like look at all the pictures on the tree.
I just like could not believe it. Like I was not expecting it. I should have seen so many signs, and I just saw no signs. I was so surprised. He had my favorite like pink roses, and he had this, I'll show it for this story. He had this ring, but it was actually, well, that's not focusing.
And then I propose, and she says yes, even though apparently she told her friends that she would say no. She says yes, thank goodness.
The day before, I told someone, like Jane or Drew, I think I told Drew, I was like, dude, like if Tavin were to propose this week, I would totally say no. Because I was so annoyed at him that like we had gone through so much trauma, and like we had to do this weird like miniature break so that I could be surprised. I was just so annoyed. Like obviously I would say yes at some point, like over the summer. But I was like, dude, like if he randomly were to propose this week, I would totally say no. But then like it actually happened, and like there was a thought that crossed my mind that I was like, maybe I say no because he put me through so much. But then I was like, at the end of the day, I can't. Like I love Tavin. I want to marry him. Like you just gotta say yes, you know?
And then this is the dopest part. Well, this is not the dopest part. That was the dopest part. But the second dopest part was I wanted to like kind of have a get together with our friends because we share so many mutual friends. And so my roommate Patrick had we had come up with this idea together. Honestly, I'll give Patrick the credit. He came up with this idea where they were going to have a surprise graduation party for me, but really I was going to surprise them with the engagement. And so, you know, we get engaged, me and Maddy, and then we drive to my house, and I walk in, and Maddy comes around the back door. I walk in, everyone's like, surprise! I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was a surprise party. Like, it's so crazy, blah, 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 you know? And they're all like, happy graduation. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so then I go to the back door, stand up on this chair, and I'm like, hey, like, I've got an announcement for you guys. I was like, I'd like to introduce you to my fiance, Maddy. Boom, there's this curtain. Boom, Maddy comes out. And everyone's like, oh. Like, there's a video that you'll have to watch of everyone's reactions. They are shook. Because a few of them even knew that we were on a little break. And so they were extra super shook. But honestly, we had so many people come up to us and be like, it's such an honor to be a part of this. Like, I thought I was surprising you, and like, I got surprised at your surprise party. So it was so crazy. But it was awesome.
And then it was just so fun. We stayed up that whole night just like talking about everything, like when we were gonna get married and like whatever. And then like I finished my semester the next day, and he graduated like at the end of that week. Okay, sorry. I know this is also really long, but I told Tav, I was like, this is for the posterity, and we just want to have like all these details recorded, you know? And so I was like, I know it's going to be long, but we just want to get all these details in so that we can always remember them and our kids can hear about them someday.
Maddy was amazing, and she planned pretty much the whole thing. Well, like, I really didn't plan anything. I ordered the food. What else did I do? I did do some important stuff. Honestly, I did order the food. I came up with the ideas for the food. Maddy executed those ideas. Yeah, so Maddy was amazing. She wasn't working at the time. She wasn't going to school, so she just like full-time planned the wedding. I was working, trying to bring in that bread, you know. Okay,
so then our wedding was awesome. It was so fun. It was crazy. So I decided randomly right before we got married to get scuba certified. Me and Tav wanted to scuba dive on our honeymoon, and so I like joined this like random scuba class like 2 weeks before we got married. And the last day, like my final dive or whatever, was the day before we got married, like marriage eve. And it was like a 4-hour class like at the Crater, and I had to do this scuba dive thing till like 10 p.m. And so it was crazy. Everyone's like, what are you doing like the night before your wedding? I'm like, I'm doing my final dive for my scuba dive class.
But yeah, so we got married on June 30th, and then the wedding day was awesome. Like, people say your wedding day is the best day of your life. It really was the best day of my life, which was kind of crazy because, like, sometimes, you know, like a really big day, you don't know if it's going to live up to the hype, but this day did live up to the hype. But it was crazy because a week before, the day of my bachelor party, we went golfing. We're in this format, this scramble. It's like a 4-team scramble. I'm putting to win the scramble. And I'm like holding my putter here because I just putted. I'm watching it. The ball like goes into the cup and then comes out. And I'm like, kind of like, you know, shaking frustration, and the putter hits me in the lip, rips my lip open. I go in to get stitches 6 days before our wedding. And so the day of the wedding comes, I gotta go get the stitches out. We were up super late the night before, giving each other these super sweet, tender, sentimental night before wedding gifts.
So we didn't go to bed till like 5 a.m. And I was just already so tired at that point because I hadn't slept the last couple days because we had so many people staying at our house and so much was going on. And so I woke up probably like 7, and I was like honestly in a bad mood that morning because I was like, I am exhausted. Like I really wanted to be like rested for today, whatever. So like I had like a little tiny meltdown like in the morning because I was just like, dude, like I'm so exhausted. And like Tavin slept until 10 a.m. and I was like shook because we were getting married at like noon, and I was like, okay, actually I think it was like 1 o'clock in Draper. But I was like, dude, like you just slept till 10 a.m. Like none of your stuff is done either. And so anyways, like Tav did a really good job and like calmed me down and was like trying to be like really like positive about things. And I was like, okay, whatever, but just like promise me that like you're gonna just be on the time to the temple. I don't care about anything else. Just please be on time to the temple. I was like, you don't even have to be early, like just be on time. And he was like, oh yeah, for sure, like I promise. And like, dude, like I fell for this so many times during our relationship. I still fall for it, and like eventually we're gonna get this figured out. But I was like, okay, thank you.
And then I still got to pick up my jacket from the dry cleaners, like, and I'd slept in till 10 a.m. and the ceiling was like at 1 p.m. and so it was crazy. I didn't have time to go get my stitches out, so I literally watched a YouTube video and explained to my mom, and she cut the stitches out of my lip. And then I went and picked up my jacket, and I'm like, I also had to go get like a couple boxes from my house because we were going on the honeymoon right after. And so it was just chaotic. And Maddy had told me earlier that day that I need to be on time. I really was trying my best, and I wasn't on time, but I did try my best. So the effort and the intent and the desire of my heart was there. Just the actual on time part did not happen.
I like check Tav's location, and he's like still back in Provo. Like, I'm like, what the freak are you doing? You're not even like driving up here. Like I was so confused. It was funny because later his roommates were telling me, they were like, yeah, we like were running out of the house because we all thought we were late. And so we're like running, getting in the car. And then we see Tav like pull up and run into the house to like get ready. And then they're like, okay, like we're good. Like Tav's not even like ready yet. So anyways, it was just really funny. And so I called Tav and I'm like, dude, like where are you? Like you told me you'd be on time. And he's like, I'm so sorry. Like it took longer than I thought. Classic. That is like the most classic thing like Tav could say. Like that is such a Tav line. Like it just like took longer than I thought. Like whatever. So then I was like annoyed at first. I was like, oh, like you are kidding me. I'm like, maybe I don't do this. I don't know. And then I like felt bad that I had like gotten frustrated with him. So I called him. I'm like, it's okay. Like, honestly, it wouldn't be our wedding if like you weren't running late. And so then it was like fine.
But I show up. At first, Maddy was super mad at me, but then she was super kind and forgiving. I could not find my tie anywhere. I literally ripped my whole car apart. It's got like half of my belongings in it. I can't find it anywhere.
This is like, no one else could pull this off. Tav is like a different breed. But he like pulls up and he like half dressed. He's like kind of like throwing on some clothes and stuff, like running up to the temple. And then he realizes like he forgot his tie like in Provo, and we're in Draper, like with our ceiling time already like it's like past 1 o'clock at this point. And I'm like, dude.
So listen, this is a miracle. This is how I know I was supposed to marry Maddy. We're running to the temple. Just imagine like, you know, like those action movies where like, you know, like the guy's holding the girl's hand and he's like, there's no tie on, very disheveled, like slow motion running. That was us running into the temple. And then I see my buddy Tyler has a black tie on. And I have like a groomsman tie for him. And so I literally just like, I need your tie. And so like, he like takes it off his head, puts it on me, run into the temple, and it was awesome.
But like for some reason, like it worked out for Tav. That is the tie that Tavin wore the rest of our wedding day, was that tie that he pulled off as groomsman.
And the sealer was like, or the people in the temple were like, hey, like, you're late. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And they're like, honestly, it don't matter. Like, as long as you show up on the day of your sealing, we will get you sealed. I said, dude, that's what I'm talking about. These are the kind of people I need in my life.
Like, whatever. I just like needed to breathe for a second, but we did get married.
And so it was just super hype. The sealing was awesome. It was the highlight of the day.
It was honestly awesome. It was so fun. We had so many friends and family there. The sealing room in Draper was full. It was so fun. I like have this really sweet memory of like we're kneeling at the altar and they're saying all like the marriage stuff, and Tav like just looks at me and he just mouths like, I love you. And I just was like, it was just so sweet. And I was like, okay, like you drive me crazy, but I'm so glad I'm marrying you because I love you and you're just gonna make life so fun.
My favorite memory was kneeling across the altar from Maddy, but then also like they had Maddy's immediate family, no, Maddy's parents and her grandma, and then me, my parents, my grandparents all stand and look at like the mirror, and it like goes forever in each direction. It was super cool.
Our reception was so fun, like probably the funnest reception ever. A lot of people like told us like it was the funnest wedding they'd ever been to. Like it just really was so fun. Like watch our wedding video, it was so fun. And we did it at my cousin's backyard in Sandy. They have like this tennis court that we did all the dancing on. We did a dinner and then we did a ring ceremony, and it was just like a fun like casual ring ceremony, and like all the bridesmaids and groomsmen walked up to like this Macklemore song, and like we gave like these sweet speeches. I'm not that good at speeches, but Tav's really good at it. So Tav's was really sweet. Mine was honestly kind of mediocre because I suck at speeches, but it was just like really fun. And then we had like our family give speeches, and Tav's best friend Guillermo talked, and my one of my best friends, Katie Gurney, like the one who pretty much like made this happen, I had her say something too. And so it was just really fun, really sweet speeches, and just like so many people came and we just felt so much love.
It was just perfect. We had a little ring ceremony, gave great speeches, and the highlight of that was Maddy's little brother Ike gets up there and he's like, hey everybody, my name's Ike, I'm Maddy's little sister, and literally everyone just dies laughing. Apparently Drew had like dared him to do it, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that, but it was so like ingrained and like stuck in his head that he actually did it. But everyone gave great speeches, super emotional, super awesome.
We had churros and fresas con crema.
Fresa con crema, which was the dessert we'd made on our first date. Sentimental and tender as heck. We had a great dance party. We jumped into the swimming pool, and the send-off was great. And then, yeah, we went off to our honeymoon to Cancun.
Oh, everyone was in Jordans too, which was super fun. It was just so fun. Like, it was so fun. And then we did like this bubble exit from our wedding, and then, yeah, and then we did a honeymoon in Cancun, and it was amazing. Now we live still here in Provo, and been married for almost 6 months. It's like 5 months, but it's just been so fun. It's the best ever, and yeah, just could not have chosen a better man.
Marriage is great. Life with Maddy is great. She is super patient with me, and she is amazing, and she always cooks a fantastic dinner on Sundays, many other nights of the week, but especially on Sundays, and I love her a lot, and that's her story.